The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor, your host, and we've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking with Nancy Milburn about dogs and dog training. And the reason why it's on the Personal Safety Show is because dogs end up being a very good burglar alarm. They can be very good protectors. And dogs actually help our health. Yeah, I know there's dander that you're breathing in, but as far as stress levels, petting a dog has been shown to reduce blood pressure. So we always love dogs. I have a new dog. We'll be talking to Nancy, who is a dog training expert. But before we do, I just kind of want to go over a few random type things. As we all know, there is this horrible war in Israel, and all war is horrible. That's why I said that. And there are people out there who support Israel. There's people out there who support the Palestinian people, which is okay. What's not okay is supporting Hamas, who is responsible for the violence. So if you want to help if you want to help the people of Israel, and I'm not talking just the Jewish people, I'm talking all of the people in Israel, and you're not sure what to do, I would suggest checking out the Magen David, MAGEN ambulance service. Their website is A as in Adam, F as in Frank, M as in Mary, D as in dog, A as in Adam.com. And that is the ambulance service throughout the state of Israel that helps everybody. They are the EMTs, the paramedics who go under fire. They'll go in under fire and they'll rescue people and they'll treat them. And they don't ask the religion, they don't ask nationality. Somebody's hurt, they go in and give them. And I really think I've donated to them in the past. I'm going to continue to donate to them. It's a great non-battle, non-war type organization that is just there to help people. I also want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. I am thankful for a ton of things in my life. You know, life has its ups and downs, and I'm absolutely thriving. I have a fantastic family who I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for my work. And I'm thankful to the listeners. Thank you for tuning in and listening to me drone on and on and on about all things safety. So I greatly appreciate everybody who tunes in either to the actual radio station or to the YouTube podcast, which this is uploaded to my Firearm Mentor YouTube page every Sunday afternoon after it airs on radio. Last night, and this is pre-recorded, so this was during the week, I went shooting with a very good friend of mine, and we were up in an area that was not horrible as far as crime goes, but not the best area where we went to the shooting range. And we had a blast. Ha, that was my dad joke. We had a blast. We had fun. I did some drills with him. It was fantastic. And on my way out, I get in my car, and there's this guy kind of standing in the middle of the driveway to get out of the parking lot. I think it was a guy. It was dark out. They had shoulder-length white or gray hair. I really couldn't identify them because it was dark. And he's holding out his hand with his finger pointing up like, hey, stop, I got a question for you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm coming out from a gun range. I've got firearms in my vehicle. I'm not going to get carjacked with or without firearms in my vehicle. I was going home. So guess what? I drove around him. And with that said, a lot of times we are conditioned to behave in a certain manner. There's expectations for us. And I'm going to give you an example of a couple of these expectations. When we're growing up and we're in school, everybody always says, don't pull the fire alarm, don't pull the fire alarm, don't have a false alarm, over and over, and it's ingrained into us as children. Now, some children end up still pulling the fire alarm. But when we who are rule followers actually see a bona fide fire, sometimes we're in a state of disbelief, of cognitive dissonance. We go up to the fire alarm and we hesitate. We hesitate to pull that fire alarm because we've been conditioned. Also, it is very unnatural to intentionally point a firearm at another human being, and we are conditioned to not do that. Finger off the trigger, point the gun in a safe direction, which is great. And it is counterintuitive to point that firearm at another human being. But the very minuscule chance that the other human being is a legal aggressor and is trying to commit a felony by doing harm, and that harm is either death or great bodily harm, which is a very nebulous term. There's not an exact legal term. It is vague on purpose. I define it, and again, I am not an attorney. This is not legal advice. In my mind, great bodily harm is any physical injury that will end you up in an emergency room. And people will say, so they'll give me examples. They'll say, someone attacks you with a baseball bat or a knife or a gun. All examples, but at the same time, you might be attacked with a fist. You might be facing a 6'5" football player size offender. A punch can put you in the hospital. So there's a ton of force disparity that needs to be explored, and we do monthly concealed carry classes, as well as we are now doing keynote speaking at conferences. We have 3 signature talks. That website is stress2logic.com, and the main talk that I do is on overcoming the human stress response. The human stress response is one that's physical. It prepares us for fight or flight. However, when we're in, I'll call them administrative situations, in other words, the boss calls us in, we're getting a performance appraisal. Hey, you're on a date. You're getting married. There's positive things. There's anxiety things. We don't think very well. And I go into the techniques. I've come up with a system called the LEARN system, where LEARN is an acronym for the techniques that you can use to calm yourself, reduce those hormonal cocktail chemicals that are in your bloodstream so that you can think clearly. The second signature talk I deliver is on managing violence in hospitals. Hospitals are actually pretty violent places. You've got psychiatric units with people that consistently act out. You've got an emergency room with people who are coming in who are possibly intoxicated, inebriated, on drugs, under arrest. And then you have family members who go into the hospital, and I just said that we don't think very straight when we're in an emotional point of view, or an emotional state of mind, I should say, and they act out. And there's a ton of things that happen in hospitals. So I have a seminar on how to recognize and overcome violence in hospitals. And it's not necessarily just violence. It could be disputes. It could be arguments, looking for the precursors of violence. The third signature talk that I give is how I overcame obesity. I formerly was 319 pounds at my heaviest with a 54-inch waist. And I discuss how I went through gastric bypass surgery, but I also talk about all the weight loss before the surgery. I lost about 45 pounds ahead of the surgery with very little effort. I changed some behaviors. I did eat some healthier foods, but the behaviors really helped me to lose this weight pre-surgery. And I talk about it, and I talk about what everybody can do as far as counting calories, what the easiest way to do that is, how to measure out food. I know how to measure out food. You take a spoon and you measure it. There are specific things that we need to do when we're eating, when we're drinking non-alcoholic beverages that will help people lose weight, help people stay satiated for longer, which was my problem. I was never satisfied. I'd eat like I was going to the chair. That's what my mom used to say. She also used to say, oh my goodness, I went grocery shopping yesterday, and the only thing in the house that's left are the screen windows. And me being a snarky, sarcastic kid and adult later on in life, I would say, yeah, what do you think I used to strain the noodles? And it was a big joke. My favorite food is groceries. I still love groceries, but I don't do buffets anymore because having gastric bypass surgery, I can't eat a lot. I can certainly eat almost anything I've eaten before, but it's very small quantities. And I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I can move. I talk about the medical problems that I had prior to the weight loss and how these medical problems all have but gone away. I was on 4 insulin shots a day. I'm on 0 now. My A1C is normal. I was on 3 blood pressure meds. I'm on 1 tiny, teeny little pill right now. And I go into how regular people, without even dieting, can tweak and change a couple of small behaviors and really, really start to drop the pounds. And it doesn't involve exercise. As I was 319 pounds, it was very difficult for me to move. As I started to lose some weight, more and more came off. I was able to move more and more, and now I can exercise regularly. So if you're interested in any of those types of talks, you can reach out to me with my electronic business card. I have a couple websites going to it, but the electronic business card is marcusmelnick.com. That is MarcusMeln, N as in Nancy, ICK.com. That is my electronic business card. My keynote speaking website is stress2logic.com. So I've kind of separated that from the firearms part of my business, because if somebody gives someone else hey, check out this guy's electronic business card at firearmmentorcard.com, half the people in the world or a third of the people in the world immediately get turned off. I've had that happen where they're like, nope, we're not interested. You do weapons. I also do overcoming the human stress response. Nope, you have to do with weapons. We don't want you. So I've had to separate out my 2 different businesses. So we're about to go into some in-depth training with Nancy Milburn of The Logical Dog. She is in Canada. I reached out to her. I met her through a Facebook group on podcasts, because I am learning as I go. I'm learning about podcasts. I'm learning about the radio. I'm absolutely loving this. I'm loving the people out there, and I want to announce a contest. My contest is go to Google, type in Firearm Mentor Reviews, and it will take you to the Google page where my business has reviews. If you enjoy this radio program, I would encourage you to go there and write a review. And I don't just mean hit 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever. Well, obviously we want 5 stars. But don't just hit the stars. Make a comment. Tell me what you've learned. Tell me what you love about the show. The person with my favorite comment will get a copy of my book, which is called The Opposite of Safe. It is available at theoppositeofsafe.com, and it goes into how to survive mass violence, how to keep a straight thought process during a mass or a criminal violence incident. So all you have to do is go to Google, type in Firearm Mentor Reviews, and post a review, whether you're hearing this on the radio or through my YouTube page. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you'd like to hear a topic on the show, or you do something that is safety related, please reach out to me via my electronic business card. Once again, that is marcusmelnick.com. Throw me a message via email. I almost said shoot me a message, but that would be a dad joke. Haha. And I would love to hear what you have to say. What do you have to do about safety? And it doesn't have to be firearm safety or self-defense. It could be airplane safety. It could be boating. I already did one on boating safety. Anything that has to do with safety. It could be, hey, this is why we need to put salt and sand down in the wintertime. So please reach out to me. I would love to hear you. And here we go with Nancy Milburn. Stay tuned. Today we're going to be talking about the world's favorite animal, the dog. I have Nancy Milburn of The Logical Dog with me, and we're going to be talking about training and equipment and all sorts of things about dogs. I will tell everyone that my favorite breed of dog is rescue. We have a rescue dog, and we'll probably talk about him during our conversation. So, Nancy, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking time to talk to our listeners and spread the good word about having pets and animals.
Well, thank you for having me. I am so happy to be here, and I can talk about dogs all day long.
Awesome. Can you tell our listeners, what is your origin story? How did you get involved with canines and dog training, and what brought you to your current point?
We grew up with dogs and cats in our home, and then I moved to England, and we had a family, and we needed a dog. So we went and got my husband at the time got a border collie and brought it home. My son was about 8 years old, and I thought I would send him and the dog to training school. Thought it might do them both some good. And of course, I had to take him. And I got interested in the training process because I practiced with the dog because I knew my son wouldn't practice. So I practiced during the week, and then I got interested in it. And then it just snowballed from there. And because I had a border collie this was back in the 70s, the agility had just been starting and it started in England as a fill-in between the horse shows. And it turns out that border collies excel at agility, which no one knew then. So I was in competition with, Labradors, German Shepherds, Golden Retrievers, and of course the border collie won everything. So he became a grand master, and everybody wanted me to help train. But now we know that border collies excel at agility, and all the other dogs are left in the dust. But back then, border collies were considered just a farm dog and were not considered very valuable at all.
Very interesting.
And that's how I got into it. And then I came to Canada. I returned to Canada because I am Canadian after my divorce. And I started up part-time dog training, and then it just snowballed into full-time.
Awesome.
And then for about 25 years, I was full-time.
So what's your specialty? Is it pets? Is it training for guide dogs, therapy dogs? What's your area of expertise or interest even?
I have trained service dogs for the wheelchair bound and some therapy dogs, but that's a minor part of the business. The major part of the business is companion dogs. But one of my loves is to take dogs that are on the cusp of getting euthanized because of their behavior, and turning them around and making them a wonderful companion to their owner. And this is usually reactivity, where the dog is at the end of the leash barking and yelling at another dog when they're walking, and or humans. It can happen to humans too. And that is the most satisfying thing for me, because this dog is going to, it's going to die if it doesn't get help. And I help it. And all of a sudden it turns around and it's the most wonderful dog.
Touched my heart. And the reason we had, in my first marriage too, we had a dog, and that dog broke me. It was a part lab, part Australian cattle dog, and he destroyed thousands of dollars, separation anxiety. And we ended up adopting him out to a wonderful family. My son at the time was on 3 asthma medications, and when we adopted the dog out, no more medications. So there was an allergy, there was a medical reason. He lived an awesome life, and he had a brother named Mooch. They named him Mooch because he was a mooch, and they got along great. And there was a retired gentleman that lived next door who took my old dog on walks every day for miles and miles and miles. Much more than I could have done. He passed away, and this was a long time ago. He passed away, but his life was fantastic. And, everyone during the pandemic, I make the joke of everyone got exercise equipment, an air fryer, and a dog or cat during the pandemic.
You're right.
We were no exception. We adopted a dog. So we have a friend fostering for dogs. And at any one time, they could have a dozen dogs in their house. They take in pregnant dogs. The dogs give birth. They do all the nurturing. And they were fostering our dog. And one of my children is like, this is the dog for us. This is it. And he hates dogs. He hates them. And he chose him. And so we adopted Milo from our friend, and it was one of the best. He's one of the best dogs I've ever owned. Sweet, nice, protective when he should be. More bark than bite, but definitely will give us a warning. And all he wants to do is be pet. He'd rather get the love than even go outside and go to the bathroom. That's him. He's a lover. So tell us about the Logical Dog. How did you come up with that name, and how does your business operate? How do you get customers?
Well, now I get them online. I all organically through my Instagram and my Facebook account. People contact me through there. I also do classes locally on my farm here, so I'm in person locally for the people here, but mainly online. That's what we do now. Years ago, I had my own facility. I had 4,000 square foot facility. I had staff. I had all those things. And when I got to about 65, I decided that I would retire. And then I retired. We retired up to Manitoulin Island, and it was lovely up here. A bit boring because there wasn't much to do. And then people started asking me, what did you do? And I said, well, I was a dog trainer. And they said, oh my goodness, a dog trainer. Well, can you help me with my dog? So guess what? I'm back in business.
Very good. And where are you now? Still on the island?
Oh, we're still on Manitoulin Island. Okay. Yes. We winter in Mexico.
Okay.
And then come back to the island every summer.
When you're wintering, are you still working?
I work remotely through the internet, yes.
Well, okay, so anywhere in the world, wherever you are, you're still helping people. That's very good to know.
Yeah, I do classes in Mexico, but they're all, it's volunteer because, of course, I'm not allowed to work in Mexico. So I work for the local rescue society down there and help them turn their rescue dogs around so that they're adoptable.
That's phenomenal. The world needs more people like you, for sure. The patience that you have.
I've always done that. I've always been associated with my local rescue societies, and I take dogs and turn them around and then hand them back to the rescue society. And in fact, I've got quite a few of my own dogs that way because I take them, and then I say to them, "Do you mind if I keep this one?" Because I'll get one that been misdiagnosed as hyperactive or stubborn or something like that. And I find out that the dog is actually very intelligent and easy to train. So I think, oh, great, because I had one dog that had been taken back to the SPCA 3 times because she was untrainable. This dog ended up on TV, knew about 180 commands. She was wonderful. And I took her because she wasn't even housebroken when I took her. And so I took her home to housebreak her over the weekend. And I housebroke her, and I realized that she was really, really intelligent, and nobody had given her the right signals on how to do it. And I kept her, and she was just wonderful, wonderful dog.
Awesome.
And she lived to be 18.
Wow, that's old for a dog. That's fantastic.
Well, most of my dogs live old because I feed the raw diet. That I've been feeding the raw diet for years, and 25 years I've been feeding raw. And I feed them raw meat, raw bones, raw vegetables.
Very interesting, which is what they probably would get in a natural environment anyway.
I always say that, there's no barbecue in the woods.
That's right. So one of the things that really interests me about what you do, and I'm going to question it, online training for a dog, how does that work?
Basically, you take a video of your dog doing whatever it's doing that you don't like, and then I coach you through how to change your behavior so the dog changes its behavior. I can do it in real time as well, so that they set the camera up or they get someone else to hold the camera, and then I actually coach them to say, no, don't do that, do this, or you're not doing it, put your hand a little bit closer, a little bit further away, whatever it needs.
Is that a one-on-one, or are there like classes on that?
I do both. Some people like to join together on Zoom, and then they can talk to one another and they can share their problems and stuff. And then we go through a lesson on Zoom with 4 or 5 others. And if you have reactivity problems, then it is one-on-one.
Okay, got it. And in thinking about it, it's really no different than if you were in an in-person class. The instructor is going to tell you what to do, and you're the one working. The dog owner is the one working. I mean, and it's the same thing. So now that makes sense. I was questioning it a little bit because it was unusual but brilliant, and I appreciate brilliance. So can you tell our listeners about your blog, your social media sites, Instagram account, and how they can get a hold of you?
The Logical Dog is on Facebook as The Logical Dog. The Logical Dog is on Instagram as The Logical Dog. And the website, there's 2 websites, thelogicaldog.com and doglogic.ca, which is the Canadian site. The blog is doglogic.ca, and in there you will find a lot of information on how to do things, how to stop different problems and stuff. And there's a link to the training, but it's password protected, so you have to contact me. Okay. To contact me for your problem, the best way is email. And that's, if you do Nancy, Nancy, at doglogic, doglogic.ca, because I'm Canadian, so it's the Canadian site. And that the email is the best way to get in contact with me.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.